What's up everyone, this is Josh from the TCG blog doing another pure deck build. As you can see, I'm doing Lyralisk today. Probably one of my newer decks. As you can tell, the support just came out recently and I fell in love with it. I picked it up, it was quite expensive. Like I think Ensemble Robin was like $12 to $15 per copy. Bird Call was $20 to $30 per copy. And then the other main deck monster was like $12 per copy. It was quite expensive support, but the support that came out is just perfect. And I've never played Lyralisk before this support, and I decided to pull it all together, try it out, fell in love with it, and I've put together a build that I'm extremely happy with. So if you're familiar with our deck builds, they are, as the title says, pure builds. You're not going to see, Boral Sword, Appaloosa. You're not going to see triple Ash Blossom, triple Nibiru. You're not going to see any of that. You're going to be seeing a pure variant to make this casually competitive in the format that Tyler and I play YGO. So without further ado, let's get into it. We'll start with the extra deck. Now, the thing I love about this extra deck is it's kind of a toolbox. It does so much, especially with its new support card, Ensemble Robin. So I'll go through them now. First, we're going to run playset of Lyralisk Ensemble Robin, a non-once per turn bounce from special summons is insane. It's not just the fact that it's a soft once per turn, it has no once per turn. So as long as it has materials, if it has 5 materials, you can bounce 5 special summon monsters when your opponent special summons. This is insane, this card. I absolutely love it. I run playset because we're running it pure, and we actually do go through the extra deck quite quickly with some of our cards. And I'll go through why we like to run playsets of everything as it is. But as this card being a little more expensive, currently I think it's sitting around $10 to $12 per copy, you can run 1 to 2. I definitely don't think it's a playset needed, but I'm running it pure, so I've just got a playset here. The next one, which is the MVP, which we're all very well aware of if you play Lyralisk. Lyralisk Assembled Nightingale. Nightingale is an OTK machine, as well as just amazing blanket protection. Just the quick effect to detach one and protect all your Lyralisk monsters from destruction and battle. And you take no battle damage as well. Insane. So this card is definitely a 3 of. It's very, very cheap. It's been around for a long time. Definitely run Assembled Nightingale at 3 because of its insane protection. So if you need to go to the grind game, if you need to just kind of, punch for punch, kind of grind it out for quite some time, or if you just want to go for insane OTK, the fact that this allows both is insane. So playset of Assembled Nightingale. Probably the runner-up for MVP, and I absolutely adore this card, is Recital Starling. The only one in the extra deck which is common, and I feel like I use this the most, but Recital Starling does a couple things very well. Firstly, on its summon, it can boost the attack of any monster on the field, so that can do either yours. You may want to do Assembled Nightingale because it can attack up to the amount of materials it has. So giving it quite a big boost means you can definitely swing for game. But generally, most of the time, you're actually going to be boosting the attack of your opponent's monsters. Because if you've used Assembled Nightingale to protect all your Lyralisk monsters from destruction and battle, this can actually crash and deal the damage to your opponent instead. So insane OTK potential with these two here. They combo very, very well. The other thing which makes Recital Starling so damn good is it's a search. Detach 1, search a Lyralisk monster from deck to hand, and it's a soft once per turn. So I can get out 1, I can get out 2, I can get out 3. That's 3 searches in 1 turn. So the fact that Ensemble Robin doesn't have a once per turn and this has a soft once per turn means the consistency is off the charts. Next one I run is a playset of Promenade Thrush. Promenade Thrush doesn't come up too often. I basically just use it to bounce a particular spell or trap on the field if it's getting in the way. If I've got, say like I don't know, if there's just something on the field that I really, really need to get rid of, Promenade Thrush helps with that. So That's all it is. You can run it at 1, but I'll explain why we run it at 3 later on. Lastly, in the extra deck is a playset of Independent Nightingale. Independent Nightingale just burns for 500 and basically just allows us a free target for instant fusion. That is basically all this is. It's an extra body. It's a level 1 winged beast. Wind monster. It fits the archetype. It fits everything. Obviously, it's Lyralisk. But then if we can get this out on the field, we can just use it as Xyz material. So that's why we run it. The MVPs are obviously Ensemble Robin, Assembled Nightingale, and Recital Starling. So getting into the main deck, we have playset of Cobalt Sparrow. Cobalt Sparrow is the best card in the main deck. Not only is it a search of a Lyralisk monster on its special summon, it will also prevent your monster being able to be targeted with card effects if you use it as material. It doesn't need to stay as material, just needs to initially have been used as material. So that's insanely good. The fact that it's a search and protection. The next card we run, playset of Celeste Wagtail. Wagtail is the spell or trap searcher in the deck. So right here off special summon, you get the monster and you get the spell or trap. And this can actually, in the graveyard once per turn, attach itself to an Xyz monster you control as material, which is really good because if you've got something like Assembled Nightingale, you just need to punch for once more or just a little bit more attack boost. Wagtail can just equip itself, or if you want to do Ensemble Robin, you want an extra bounce, Wagtail can definitely just attach itself to that. Next one we run is Lyrilusc Sapphire Swallow. Sapphire Swallow, it basically is just a free special summon from the hand, so it'll target itself and one other Lyralisk monster you control on the hand, special summon it. Now the reason why this is so good is because your Lyralisk monsters don't get their effects, these two for example, unless they're special summoned. So if you have Sapphire Swallow and Celeste Wagtail, target these two using this effect, this will special summon itself, this will special summon from this effect, and then you'll get the spell or trap search, or if you want to do this and this, you'll get the monster effect search, the monster search of Cobalt Sparrow's effect. So insanely good, that one. Then we run a playset of Turquoise Warbler. Turquoise Warbler does something really good as well, where if you control no monsters, you can special summon it. And if it's special summoned from the hand, you can special summon another Lyralisk monster from your hand or graveyard. Now, what makes that really good is Sapphire Swallow. If you've got these two in hand, and maybe you've got one of these in the graveyard or another one of these in the hand, off this effect, you can special summon this, which will then special summon one of these, potentially, depending on what you've got set up in the hand or graveyard. So these all combo really well off each other. And then the last monster we run is a playset of Beryl Canary. Beryl Canary just freaking works, and I love this. I cannot say enough how much I love these main deck monsters. So Beryl Canary gives an extra 200 attack boost if used as material. Doesn't need to stay as material, so it's much like Cobalt Sparrow. So the 200 attack boost does work with something like Assembled Nightingale, but doesn't come up too often. The main reason you're going to be using Beryl Canary is you can target one Lyralisk monster in the graveyard, special summon itself, and the other one from the graveyard. So generally you're going to do one of these two because then they'll get their search off the special summon. But what makes this great is if you say, get one of these out and then they get solemned or whatever, they go to the graveyard instantly, then you can just Beryl Canary them. And then all of a sudden you've got two bodies on the field again, and you can immediately go into another Xyz monster. If you want to go into Recital Starling and get a search, you absolutely can. Beryl Canary is one of those cards which just help you either play through interruptions or just help combo extend. Every single one of these main deck monsters has a purpose. Usually when you're playing a pure build, we've seen many pure deck builds on this channel. You've seen many pure deck builds probably on other channels. And a big hindrance running only in archetype monsters for the most part is they lack something. Whereas nothing in this deck lacks anything. You have your bounce and grind game with Ensemble Robin and Assembled Nightingale. You have your search and OTK potential with Recital Starling. You have your spell or trap removal with Promenade Thrush. And you've got your free summon from the extra deck with Independent Nightingale if you've got instant fusion. Then you've got your searches, you've got your special summon, you've got your special summon, you've got your special summon. It's all insane. Insane consistency in so many different ways, and that's why I absolutely adore this deck, because running it pure, I've never seen anything like this. I wholeheartedly mean that. So for the spells, we're going to go into playset of Lyralisk Bird Strike. Bird Strike, I thought was going to be a lot more expensive than it is, but it turns out it's not. Just if you control a Lyralisk monster, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. So it's basically just a Dark Ruler no more, except no setback. You don't have to pay life points, you don't have to give up anything, as long as you control a Lyralisk monster. So that's really, really good. If your opponent has some cards which are going to set up board and just kind of interrupt your board as you're trying to make plays, say if you've just got a resembled Lyralisk Recital Starling, for example, or not even that, you've just normal summoned Beryl Canary and you're trying to make plays, just Bird Strike after the normal summon, because they're not going to negate a normal summon, and all of a sudden it halves their interruptions a lot of the time. Obviously you don't want to normal summon this, but just as an example. The other card in the deck, triple Lyralisk Bird Call. Bird Call is a search or Foolish Burial and then special summon one from hand with a different name. Not only is this a setup, it's a play/combo starter. It absolutely is a 3 of. Every card so far has been a 3 of because it's just so damn good. At no point do you want to short out on searches. At no point do you want to short out on special summons. This is a search and a special summon. This is a monster effect negate. They're all searchable. You want to have them in the hand if you don't want to search for them. Absolutely have to run these at 3. Next I run is 2 copies of Lyralisk Bird Sanctuary. I found 3 just kind of bricks a bit too often, but the fact that you can shuffle around XE's materials, potentially going for game with your assembled Nightingale, if you've got a Recital Starling, it's used one of its materials and you want to kind of swing for game or something like that, you can just pop it under assembled Nightingale. It'll gain that attack and X amount of attacks depending on the material. But also if you have one with 3 or more material, then you get to draw a card as well. So I run it mainly for that, but it does come up where you do want to shuffle materials around. So Bird Sanctuary is a damn good card. I think it's definitely worth running at 2. Next we run playset of Wing Requital, Wing Requital is insane. When this card was up for pre-order, it was like $30 per copy, then it dropped down to 8 to 10, and I think 8 to 10 is a fair price range for this card. Basically, if all monsters you control are Wing Beast monsters and you control at least 2 with different original names, pay 600 life points, draw 2 cards. The 600 life point cost is absolutely nothing. We're always going to be able to have 2 different Lyralisk monsters on the field. This is a free pot of greed. It's insane that this isn't actually more. I was expecting it to stay at around $20 to $30 per copy, but Ring Requital is an absolute must running at 3. It's insane draw power, which means that we can go into many more plays. Now, a big downside, well, not big, but it is slight with running the monsters that we're running, is they're all Lyralisk monsters, and there's only about 15 of them. So it's a little on the low end with the monsters in the main deck, but Wing Requital allows us to draw into them. So which means the more we have in the hand, the more that we can start comboing off each other. It's insanely good. So Wing Requital is absolutely a 3 of. Next one, we run a single copy of 1 for 1 because all of these level 1s in the main deck, and they all only get their effects if they're special summoned, so 1 for 1 is pretty much a shoe-in. Monster Reborn, because we do want to special summon them, and maybe we've got an opponent's monster in the graveyard that we need. Monster Reborn's pretty self-explanatory. We run a single copy of Instant Fusion, which is basically just to get out a free Independent Nightingale, burn for 500, and it's a body for 600 damage. We run 2 copies of Pot of Avarice, because I found we go through monsters like crazy. Our graveyard gets filled up with monsters so quickly, and especially if we're playing the grind game, we want to see our Xyz monsters back in the extra deck so we can keep playing. Pot of Avarice allows us to keep playing, and it gives us a draw too. So between Pot of Avarice and Wing Requital, we have insane draw power, and it does allow us to keep playing as well. One copy of Summon Storm, which is one of the newer cards. Basically, just pay out 800 life points, special someone level 6 or lower wind monster from my hand. The only reason I run it is because mainly Celeste Wagtail and Cobalt Sparrow, they only get their effects if they're special summoned. So if we open a Summon Storm in the hand, we want to special summon one of those to get the appropriate search. But Summon Storm also, next turn, you can banish it from the graveyard and do another special summon. So I don't think it's worth running two. I think one is handy enough. Yeah, one comes up more often. The card I prefer running is Swallow's Nest. Swallow's Nest, if you've watched our Harpy deck build, I personally love this card. And the reason I prefer it over Swallow's Nest, basically just it tributes face-up monster special summon one from the deck that's basically the same except different name. So if we are strapped for cards in the hand, if we open a Summon Storm and we've only got, say, these two in the hand, these don't combo off each other at all. So the beautiful thing is we can normal summon, say, a Beryl Canary or a Turquoise Warbler. It doesn't get any effect. Then we can Swallow's Nest it, which just tributes it, and then we can special summon any of these to get us the right card that we want in our hand. So it's better than Summon Storm in the sense that we get to summon the card that we really, really want from our main deck. The only difference is it does require us to summon to begin with, so it's a little bit riskier, but I prefer the utility to get the card that I want. But Summon Storm does come in handy, the fact that it is basically two summons in one, just over different turns. I personally love those as tech cards in this deck. Then lastly, a couple copies of Twin Twisters, just dealing with back row. There's just, if we get Torrential Tributed at the wrong time and we don't have Assembled Nightingale out, stuff like that. Twin Twisters obviously just helps with back row. The meta that Tyler and I play in, Twin Twisters does come up quite a lot. So that will do it for the spells. Now we get into traps. There's not too many of them, honestly. It's just Solemn Warning and a single copy of Goes in Match. Every single monster we play in this is a wind, so we have no problem. We're not locked down by Goes in Match. And then Solemn Warning just to get rid of those problem cards. And it helps grind with, say, like Ensemble Robin just bouncing. Sometimes we don't even need the Solemn, but the Solemn just comes up quite often. Obviously run Solemn Strike if you can, or you can switch it out. If you want to play hand traps, definitely, take this out for some Ash Blossoms and the Beerus, things like that, maybe even the Goes in Match. You can definitely do that. Another couple tech cards you can absolutely run for the monsters, that is. You can run Slower Swallow, so as long as there are two monsters with the same level on the field, you can special summon it. It's a Winged Beast monster level 1, so it works perfectly with all of these. It can special summon itself, and then you can use it as material, or you can tribute it and get 2 draws in your next draw phase. Or there's Red Blossoms from Underroot, which is more of a go second card, which basically just banishes one spell or trap from both your graveyards, then special summon it. So it's a free special summon, could get rid of a problem card like Dragon Maid Changeover, for example, which has been such a pain in the ass for me to deal with for quite some time. But it's a free level 1 summon, and just allows you an extra material to get into an Xyz monster. That's all that pretty much is. So if you want to go second, Red Blossoms from Underroot is a good pick. Slower Swallow if you want a little bit more draw power, or just an additional special summon. There's quite a bit you can do, but I feel like this build that I've got here has seen insane amount of success. The thing I love about this deck is it kind of feels like Shadows in a sense. Shadows are known to be very toolboxy. They have floodgates, they have destruction, they have negates, they have just so much at their disposal. And Lyralisk, with the new waves of support they got, kind of have the same thing. They have OTK potential, they can bounce, they have negates, they have consistency searches now, they have protection, they kind of can do everything. And the thing I love most about it is you don't really have to change the way you build it too much. If you're doing a pure variant like this, you can kind of keep it as is. You don't need to change too much. Obviously, there's a lot of playsets in Archetype. Like, we don't run the Lyralisk trap card. I don't think it's very good. We don't run a playset of Bird Sanctuary. I think it's fine as a 2-of. You can maybe even drop it down to 1. But I personally love this build. This build has worked. Tyler and I just finished a tournament and we played with a build similar to this, but with more filler because I was waiting on Wing Requital to get here, and I've messed with the ratios a little bit. But this has seen insane amounts of success, and I'm excited to see where this goes. And it quickly has become one of my all-time favorite decks to play. So that's about it. That's this deck build. Sorry. Leave a like, comment if you think there's anything else we should run in this deck. I'm always up for suggestions. And if there's a particular deck build that you want to see done next, definitely let us know. Thank you.